Hello, I'm Ian Martin, state pensioner, etc. And I'm joined as usual by my co-host, David Quantick.
Welcome to the Old Fools podcast, is what Ian meant to say, naming the show at the start.
Welcome to the Old Fools podcast is what I meant to say.
Yeah, it's me, David Quantick, writer, broadcaster and legend. And we're joined by the even more writerly, broadcasterly and legendary Lisa Holdsworth. Lisa, Thank you so much. You came back.
I did. I'm a glutton for punishment.
We've got the punishment right here. Hey, how are you, anyway?
Good at the moment, thank you. Yeah, good. Very nice to be back.
Let's see if we can't change that very quickly.
Go on, Ian, do some hosting.
Oh, shit. Okay, yeah. Well, as Lisa is such a luminary in the Writers Guild of Great Britain, I think it's incumbent upon all of us to say, if you're a writer and you're not in the union, join the fucking union. Unions are great.
Join the union.
Collective action, David. You know how it works. The more of you there are, the more powerful you are. And the more, if you get all of everybody in it, it's a closed shop and then you're laughing. Then we're back to the good old days of the 70s with fucking tank tops and loom pants.
That is one of our demands, that tank tops are brought back for writers and everybody has to smoke a pipe. So
I'm too busty for a tank top.
Yeah, you wait till you hear the dress code for the Royal Society of Satirists. That's that is taking the piss.
So, how's life in the Writers Guild of Great Britain these days, Lisa?
I would echo Ian's words and say, please do join. It is a tough time for writers at the moment. So we've loads of work on, some of it very frustrating. And I'd love to say that the gentleman's agreement with all our bosses, etc., was still in place, but it's not. They're treating us like crap. So join your union and we will do the work for you.
I mean, I owe the union money, but I will get round to paying them.
I was asked to ask you.
Oh, that's nice to know that they're everywhere. Knives out for Dave. No, seriously. If you think you're a writer, join a union and find out. That's my threatening advice.
I mean, the weird thing is, I'm now a member emeritus of the Writers Guild of America, which is actually a closed shop. You can't write for telly unless you're in it. And it's this closed shop run from Los Angeles or somewhere at the heart of beating capitalism in America.
It does mean, though, that if you get ripped off by, I don't know, Dennis and Nasher Unleashed, only joking, people who make that show, that you will get a secondary picket from the writers of The Bear.
One of the most embarrassing things that happened during the writers' strike is the WGA, and there are two, there's one East Coast, one West Coast, came to us and they wanted us to do loads of action in the UK, and we had to tell an American union we're not allowed because Thatcher made it all illegal, and it was possibly one of the most embarrassing meetings I've ever had.
What else is going wrong with the world? Journalism. Journalism's fucked. Guardian's inviting AI in. Everyone's inviting AI. Oh, what I think of it, AI is actually a very useful Scrabble move because it's a three-toed Patagonian sloth or something. So you can stick it, if you've got a spare eye, stick it on an A, you're laughing, you win.
And in a way, isn't AI metaphorically a Patagonian three-toed sloth as it chews its way through our careers covered in the moss of capitalism?
Except aren't sloths, characteristically slow? AI seems to be gobbling everything up at a rate of knots. As far as
apart from that.
Or expanding into an enormous bubble that's about to burst and hopefully take a few capitalists with it.
Jenna, my wife, asked a very valid question the other day. She said, is a sloth the only animal named after a deadly sin, or is the deadly sin of sloth the only one named after an animal?
Oh, that's a superb question.
Because there isn't an animal called a lust or a glutton. Why don't you write it down on a postcard, readers? Send it to us at the Old Fools.
Keynsham, that's Keyns. Oh, journalism. Journalism is in terrible, terrible shape. And I speak as someone who was indentured as an apprentice in 1973.
You're not kidding, are you? This is like a guild that you were in. Like the Guild of Shoemakers.
NUJ, man, NUJ.
Yeah, I was NUJ.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, did you see that stupid fucking story on the BBC about Rachel Reeves' expenses?
Oh, it's just ludicrous.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, the intro to the story was we have been looking very closely into Rachel Reeves' expenses stuff, and we'll keep you posted if we find anything. And on the basis of that, it was a massive, massive splash in the Daily Mail. I mean, if I'd taken that to a sub-editor in 1975, he would have called me a cunt, and then he would have said, if the story is not in the first fucking paragraph, it's not a fucking story, is it, you cunt? That's what he would have said. And he said, how is it a story if there's no fucking story? So answer me that.
Because it is about the Labour government.
Just determined to find hypocrisy. And there's plenty in the Labour Party. There's loads of hypocrisy, but they've definitely got the knives out. And the whole... What was it? One of the Reform calling her Rachel from accounts. They're putting the woman in a place. You're not as good as you think you are. There's definitely a bit of misogyny at play there.
Yeah, totally.
Meanwhile, in the world of actual second-rate, third-rate, incompetent politicians, last week, the other day, there was this whole thing of Kemi Badenoch brilliantly asking the Prime Minister a question that maybe she should have just Googled first about, what is it, somebody living in Tibet on our money, and that Keir Starmer just going, yeah, that was your idea and we stopped it now. And I think they actually give her comedy questions. I think they sit round in the 1922 committee and go like, I know, get them to ask which is heavier, a bee or a lorry. And then Starmer just goes, obviously an articulated lorry. So in the interest of comedy, I found some Kemi Badenoch Prime Minister's question time questions. It's a list, and it's not Ian, so if you'll bear with me. Some of the questions that Kemi Badenoch is planning to ask include, will the Prime Minister tell the House what he intends to do about there not being any cornflakes in her pantry? Will the Prime Minister explain to the House why she keeps getting a terrible Wordle score? Will the Prime Minister tell the House how he intends to tackle of the man in the moon following her? Finally, will the Prime Minister tell the House why she, the Leader of the Opposition, is so very, very bad at Prime Minister's questions?
That would be an excellent one to ask.
I swear, it's like a fairy tale that she reaches into her bag with her questions and it's just a bundle of rags.
Did you see the headline on one of the BBC stories was a quote from someone from the Tory party going, oh God, we can't have another leadership battle. Just looking at that bench and going, who? Generic? Oh my God, no.
I mean, she's worse than Liz Truss. And Liz Truss famously only became Prime Minister because the Tories were in government, so they had to have one. But imagine being like Liz Truss, except you weren't Prime Minister.
She's worse than Liz Truss.
She's just rubbish. Liz Truss at least did things. Rubbish. They were wrong and appalling. But at least if you said to Liz Truss, there's a man who lives in Tibet who's the minister of whatever, she would have said, yeah, that was us, we'll sack him, you're right. She might have done. She might have just said, I know, and I'm marrying him, and he's going to take me to live on Mars. We'll walk amongst the galaxies with our love.
You know how bad luck comes in threes. I mean, not only is Trump now rearranging the world in a spectacularly dangerous way, but I mean, there are three non-political things. There's the asteroid heading towards us that's going to possibly hit us in 2032. Apparently, they've discovered that the Earth's molten core, for whatever reason, has changed its shape over the last 30 years.
How does a molten core change its shape? I mean, it's a ball of metal.
Oh, my fucking molten core's changing shape. I'm a martyr to indigestion, mate. But there's also this thing they've discovered about mirror bacteria. You know how proteins are left or sugars are right or whatever, and they get together and that's the life. Well, apparently you can, if you wanted to, swap them round. So you have a mirror world created, which will conceivably be stronger than the existing world. I mean, it's like fucking science fiction, but it's actually true. So how long have we got? Not much longer.
Are we at this stage now where we welcome it? Where we go, no, fair enough. No, we've had a good run. When people talk about aliens land, I welcome my alien overlords. They cannot do a worse job than we're doing at the moment.
The worst thing that's happened because of all this apocalyptic stuff with billionaires and the collapse of democracy and the collapse of the world through green issues, the worst thing that's happened to me is that it's reminded me of a book and I'm not talking 1984 or Brave. I am talking, and I really am ashamed to say this, but the most accurate prediction of what's happening today is in the Ben Elton novel Stark. And to be at this point in human history, when to suddenly find out that Ben Elton, the man who wrote, let's not forget, We Will Rock You, the man who wrote The Beautiful Game with Andrew, Ben Elton was right, because Stark is a novel. It sold 1 million copies, by the way. Makes him one of the few people whose debut novel sold 1 million. I hate him even more.
Fuck, yeah.
1989, he wrote a book where the world was dying from ecological collapse. So billionaires built spacecraft to go and live on the moon. And you think, that's just a headline.
Yeah.
Bang on.
Yeah.
It's absolutely...
It's about time to say I have a signed copy of Stark on the shelf at the moment. That was a massive...
It's the only time to say it, Lisa. You've been waiting since 1989 to drop that. Oh, I've got a signed copy. I mean, the side thing of Ben Elton, who went from greatness to, I don't know, say We Will Rock You and similar things, and is a different thing. But he was right. And that's probably why his writing went off, because it's like, I warned you, you fools. I told you. And I'm just going to go and write We Will Rock You. The worst thing about We Will Rock You, by the way, I went to a press showing, was that they had not figured out at the stage of the press showing a way to get in the song Bohemian Rhapsody. And you think, there's Ben Elton sat there goes like, oh yeah, I could have The Game, small hit, that's in there, yeah. Crazy Little Thing Called Love, fantastic. Killer Queen. Oh, there's something missing. Oh, fuck, it's Bohemian Rhapsody. It's got a story. It actually has a plot.
Also, if you're writing a Queen musical, that's 6 minutes long. That takes up a lot of space. You need that.
Oh, they did it. They did it as a bar scene with it was sort of like Nigel Planer, who was basically playing Neil in the future, comes on. I love Nigel Planer. He's like, oh man. He literally said something like, that reminds me of the old days. And then they went in, they did Bohemian Rhapsody in a bar.
Nice segue.
And then the show ended.
Thank God.
So I've spoiled it for you now.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I mean, we have Jehovah's Witnesses. I invite the Jehovah's Witnesses in every Friday.
Oh, you're one of those.
There's this woman, she's about 130 years old and a more sprightly minder. And they come in and they just talk at me. I give them a cup of tea and some biscuits. And I've got a lot of time for. I mean, they're nuts. Jehovah's Witnesses, fucking blood transfusion bollocks and all that. But they're very brave people, and I do admire them. Door knocking, and they're very brave in World War II and whatever. And anyway,
World War II?
Yeah. They elected to go to the death camps.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Anyway, well, don't bring it down. This is supposed to be fucking funny, light-hearted
I wasn't the one who just put World War II into a jolly opening. The warm-up man. I'm the warm-up man for Only Fools and Horses. Tell you what, David Jason, lovely bloke on the side. World War II.
Anyway,
World War II.
I wanted to invite him in this week, last week especially, because of these three things, these three cataclysmic things that are happening to the earth. Because I thought, I bet they think that's the Book of Revelation. And I asked them outright after they finished, going, well, how do you think a blade of grass came about? Fucking evolution. And all that. And I said, when you hear these, and I told them about the three things that were are going to kill the earth, I said, is there a part of you that gives a little fist pump and thinks, yeah, I told you. It's all in the Book of Revelation, mate. It's written by John, who was Jesus' best mate. And they go, no, not really. I'm fucking wasted. So an hour I've been sitting with them with tea and biscuits. Fucking no, not really.
I just like the idea.
Thanks.
Isn't there the theory that they're absolute headbanging right wingers in America, the heritage type people, want a war in the Middle East? They're encouraging the war.
Armageddon.
That's the start of Armageddon. And so they're just poking the bear until it all kicks off.
See, when you said heritage, I thought for a moment you meant English heritage.
Yeah.
Oh, they're in it as well, yeah.
I like that. There's sort of the cool national trust. I mean, for pensioners, cool.
They have good reenactments, lots of Roundheads and Cavaliers, that kind of thing.
Oh, we have, because I live in Hastings. So every so often we go to the Battle of Hastings reenactment, and I have no idea how the English lost that, because there's like 7 Normans in that reenactment and 12 English, and you think, come on.
Have you ever seen the Battle of Waterloo episode of Sharp? We apparently thought that with all the officers up on a hill looking over and about 15 men running around and a couple of horses, because that's all we could
that's
afford.
brilliant. I always wanted to start a reenactment society, but not war. I always thought something like divorce, where you get some people together to reenact their divorces on a Sunday. And so one of them would be the sympathetic friend. One of them would be the bloke at the hairdresser's who the husband thinks the wife is having an affair with, but it's just a shoulder to cry on, and so on. So
where are the muskets? Where are the muskets and cannons? The
Well,
stuff that actually...
No, fair point. And where's the blacksmith for the young kids?
Yeah, I was a member of the Sealed Knot Society for for precisely 4 days at school, because the deal was you had to dress up as a roundhead, and then get on a coach, get off the coach about 20 yards away from this pub in Brentwood, and and it was free booze all night. And then it all got really fucking serious. They properly go, right, now it's time for wenching. What? Yeah, you have to pretend to be looking for someone to wench. And then it all turned very dark. People being dragged out, held in front of a cannon, which they pretended to fire. Wankers.
This is the Wicker Man.
Anyway, I enjoyed because it was free booze on this pub.
That's right enough.
This is why this is such a terrible show. Lisa's trying to make a sensible point about American right-wingers, and it ends up with Ian being tied to a cannon and wanked off. Right, Lisa, I was briefly a member of Mensa when I was a teenager until I discovered they were complete wankers. Ian was in the Sealed Knot. Have you ever belonged to any really dodgy organisations?
The Brownies, yeah.
Okay.
Paramilitary.
Even at that age, I must have been about 9, you read the book and it's all about washing up, pledging your allegiance to the Queen, and generally being a good person at all times. And he really didn't fit with my values, even at the age of 9. But I do know what order to wash things up in. They were very good at teaching how to wash up.
What is the order? Is it the order of Christ?
Glasses first, then plates and bowls, then cups, then pans and things like that.
And then the Queen comes and says, very good. I went off the scout move because I was in the Cubs and I hated it because it was the same night as Scooby-Doo. And my sister was in the Brownies. And I realised it was all lies when one year I got a Cub Scout annual and there was a message from the chief scout and it said, "Dear boys, as I sit at," and I remember it really well, "as I sit at my study window looking out into the garden, I'm reminded of the passage of seasons." And I got bored with that, so I read my sister's Brownie annual. It started with a message from the chief Brownie. Can you guess what it was? "Dear girls, as I sit at," and I'm like, you fucking liars. The scout movement is built on lies.
In order to engage with our listenership, I'd like to read out this little thing from Blue Sky, which is where we can be contacted. Ed Jefferson says, "Does Wallace have to pick up Gromit's turds or what?" Someone called us JJ says, "Well, as the competence in the relationship lies squarely with Gromit, I'd say it was the opposite." I mean, also
That's
me.
true.
So I say, surely, as he's practically Wallace's minder anyway, he takes care of himself. But an interesting question, and one indeed for the wider Plasticine universe. Someone called preposterously the dreaded Lurgy says there ought to be a Plasticine multiverse where Morph casually wanders into Wallace's house one morning and Fenella the Kettle, which is the baddie in the next storyline. John Peacock says, so Gromit is walking along the street, stops, squats, does as necessary, produces the bag, proceeds down the street, dangling through his fingers, reaches a bin where it can be disposed of. Then he urinates on the bin. I go.
It does in the world of sanity raise this interesting issue, which I've discussed with my family, which is who is the intelligent one? Because Wallace is this genius inventor, though he always invents overcomplicated nonsense. But he's clearly a moron.
Yeah,
so is he like an idiot savant? Because Gromit is practical, common sense, does everything, cleans up the mess. And Wallace is loathsome.
Okay, I hear you. However, I'd like to continue with...
I knew you'd plough on regardless. Reading out the whole internet.
No, with a contribution from our very own producer, Steve Doherty, who said, they're made of plasticine, so after a fortnight, he can presumably turn a bag of them into something else. Now, so the logic here is that eventually the whole world will be made of plasticine shit. Now, suppose our own world's the same. It would explain a lot, wouldn't it? a world of shit. Made of shit. Is shit. From shit shall there come shit.
You're listening to Nigella Lawson Cooks. Lisa, do you have any opinion on this bizarre rant?
I mean, it's difficult because people do consider them sort of national treasures now. So I really don't want to think about Wallace and Gromit shitting, to be quite perfectly honest.
Too late.
And they've just won 2 BAFTAs, so...
But they must do, because they're one of the very few cartoon characters whose eating is a major part. I mean, also, making a dog eat cheese, believe me, that's a recipe for trouble. Wallace and vomit, know what I mean?
Well, Wallace lives on jam and cheese. He's got nuclear heartburn at all times as well.
Oh, Christ, Gromit. Get me a chair, for fuck's sake. I'm going to die.
I can feel me molten core changing shape.
But I do like the idea of the plasticine, the idea that you consume plasticine shaped like cheese, and then a tiny little widget of plasticine comes out your plasticine bum, and then later on is moulded by Nick Park, into a puppy.
A BAFTA.
Yeah.
A BAFTA. There's the cartoon. Whoa, Steve Doherty. He never speaks, but when he does, it's a word bomb.
He's like Gromit, isn't he? He never speaks, but he's very clever.
I would watch that. Morph comes up, goes behind Gromit, who's dropping one, picks it up, collects a few, BAFTA!
Yeah.
And let me tell you, because of the nature of stop motion animation, you've got to have a certain brain. He's definitely thought of this. Nick Parks is sat there, he's incrementally moving the arms. Definitely in his head.
If you are Nick Park, please get in touch with us and let us know what the mechanics of plasticine shit.
And also, can you get your Oscar?
Also, can I ask you, David Quantick, why you call it plasticine? Like some fucking 1950s Mr. Chips type chemistry teacher. It's plasticine. It's always been plasticine.
Plasticine. Well,
plastic. You don't say plastic. Do you say plastic? You don't say plastic.
Because it's a different word.
Oh, my God.
I get this a lot. My wife is from the Midlands, so she says bath and all this.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm not from the south. I'm from the southwest. So I don't have to talk like a twat because I'm from the West Country where we talk properly and elongate our vowels. So fuck off.
Anyway, journalism's also being swerving here. Journalism's also being killed by ads, isn't it? Everything's being killed by ads. There are ads everywhere. It gets on my fucking tits. Ads just slathered all over our world, and it just brings me down. And I was thinking about ads, how they're everywhere and how they're going to be everywhere, because apparently this fucking the Stellantis, who own Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, and something else, have now got these pop-up ads in cars. So you buy a car, and your car, while your car is idling at the traffic lights, there's a pop-up ad. It says, "What you need is a 5-year warranty, mate." Absolutely. No. What? I mean, where? I mean, it's going deeper and deeper, and the whole thing is. This is why Tottenham Court Road tube station is the best tube station, because it's all got all that brilliant ceramic art on the walls by Edoardo Paolozzi, and the greatest thing about it is that you can't put ads on public art, and I think there should be more public art to stop ads, and it should be we should do more of that, more public arts.
When they talk about the death of local journalism, I tell you what's killed local journalism.
Oh, man.
You cannot read a story in the Bradford Telegraph and Argus without the bloody page crashing because there's an advert for an estate agent. Oh, God. It's not cuts. It is that shit. Nobody can be bothered to read a story about the Bradford interchange because you get a McDonald's advert halfway through it.
Exactly.
I agree. I look sometimes at the Plymouth Herald, famous for various libels about an MP. But yeah, it is just constantly links to things, cuts to things. The worst thing for me, by the way, is when I watch non-terrestrial television with ads in, because they don't have a twiddly shape between the adverts. So I'm watching something, you're watching a drama, then suddenly it cuts to a woman with frizzy hair sitting down having a coffee. Like, who the fuck are you? And you suddenly realise it's a sofa advert. Yeah. No warning at all. It's like you're watching, what's a popular show? Hacks. And all of a sudden, the show stops, and then a family comes on and buys some bicycles. And you're like, what's going on? Get out of my telly.
Yeah, bicycle people. How dare you?
The bicycle
I've
people.
written a short poem about ads. Do you want to hear
Of
it?
course, no, but yes.
That's entirely the wrong answer. Let's go again, shall we? Well, I've written a short poem about ads. Would you like to hear it, David fucking Quantick?
How short? Yes,
Right,
I'd love
it's
to.
called ads. It's called ads. Ads in your fucking sleep. Ads in your soup. Ads on the fucking moon. Ads on a loop. Ads in the fucking sky. Ads in the air. Ads in the fucking clouds. Ads in your hair. Ads at the traffic lights. Ads on the train. Ads at the fucking doctors. Ads in the rain. Ads at the hospital on your diagnosis. Ads up your fucking arse. Ads on the prognosis. Ads at the undertakers. Ads on all the tombs. And your fucking gravestone sponsored by Late Rooms. Where's my fucking applause? Oh, God. I'm blood out of a stone here.
But it's poetry. We should be doing that. That's the way I applaud poetry.
Is that what you do with poetry?
You're
Is that
supposed to do it while I'm saying it.
Oh, right.
Not
I was
not sit there praying for it to end.
sorry. It just brought back horrible memories of ranting poetry in the 1980s. Thatch with your face like an axe. Thatch hates the blacks. Thatch the miners' strike. See, I can
Yeah,
do
exactly.
it.
That's still a vast improvement on that tone of voice you have to do spoken word poetry in now. That.
Oh, God.
Will you come
It's
to a
weird.
spoken word night? Absolutely fucking not.
I would if
would
you
never.
were doing that, Lisa. That
My
sounds
whole-
like ASMR to me. That's very soothing.
My theory is that because poetry used to be sort of, I wandered lonely as a cloud. Everyone's like, we can't do that. And now it's sort of like, I saw a little baby cry. It made me sad. I don't know why. Mumble, mumble, council flat. I left my bollocks in the laundromat. That's an actual poem.
Do you know the greatest British poet is? It's Pam Ayres.
Oh,
She's
Pam
so
Ayres.
good. Right, just amazing.
We like Pam Ayres.
She is brilliant. It's bizarre because she was so mocked, but to be honest, I wish I'd looked after my teeth. That is an anthem for a generation.
I also love that there's a poem that I've read it 3 times at people's weddings because I always get asked to do the reading. And it's not by her. And she knows it's not by her, but she wishes she got the royalties right. It's been misattributed to her. And it's all about putting the toilet seat down and all that. It's very much in her style.
Is it Wendy Cope? Who's it by?
It is, yeah. So the one about the orange gets read a lot as well.
Yeah, that's Wendy Cope.
Do you know what really caught my eye this week was the failed attempts to do rewilding in Scotland. So they released a load of lynxes. One died and they captured a load. And then they've done pigs. Wild pigs out there. But although someone said today that if we released 150 wolves in Britain, we could immediately reach net zero. I'm not entirely sure how that works. Whether wolves fart less than cows or something like that. I'm not sure of the science. But I just imagine these people sat in a room going, right, what next? Well, we've done lynxes, we've done pigs. Zebras? I don't know. Let's see how they go in the Cairngorms.
The wolf thing works because the wolves would kill all the farmers, which would cause all the cows to die.
Yes.
But just rewilding just never works. Gorillas. I'd like to see the gorillas return to the Scottish Highlands.
It is like someone trying to do a mini Jurassic Park, but in Scotland. And they haven't quite got the budget to extract the DNA from a mosquito and grow a T-Rex.
If we're talking about islands, I mean, and
we talking about islands?
Jurassic experimentation.
Okay.
Richard Branson's got an island, hasn't he? I'd love to see him rear a herd of wild boar.
I thought you were going to say I'd love to see him confined to that island and never allowed off it ever again.
I mean, I'd like him to be discovered having been killed and then eaten by his own herd of wild boar.
I imagine it's like the island of Dr. Morrow, and he's bred like air hostesses with sheep, and there's sort of strange air hostess-faced sheep bounding around.
Trolley dollies,
because I remember I've known people who work for Virgin. They all say basically the same story, that he has a pool party and he throws people in the pool, especially if they're ladies.
Right?
Every time.
Every time.
Working for Virgin sounds like working for a cult. All hail Richard Branson. There is a thesis to be written on the cultural damage that's been done by Tubular Bells, I have to say. Because it empowered one of those first personality billionaires.
Right.
I mean, there's, Branson's not quite Bond villain, but we've got there eventually.
So is this one of those stages in history? If you could go back in time, you'd go back and murder Mike Oldfield to prevent...
Put the bells down, Mike.
Yeah. It is bizarre that this sort of, you end up with Virgin Airlines because Mike Oldfield was an unhappy 14-year-old with a fantastic musical talent. And this hippie dream, because all he wanted was to be a hippie musician, this leads to Richard Branson pushing air hostesses into swimming pool, and Boy George entertaining passengers on the inaugural flight of Virgin Airlines.
Well, the story's not over yet. He may yet be killed and eaten by his wild boars.
Oh, gosh, by the way, this is the thing I wanted to talk about, if that's all right with you, Steve.
Time's up.
Time's up, it would be. Yeah, the return of sketch shows. It's back. This bizarre Mitchell and Webb helmed sketch show, which isn't Mitchell and Webb. And it's just strange. It's being really, and rightly so, heralded, because there are no sketch shows. It's literally like Jurassic Park. They've taken the DNA of sketch shows out of David Mitchell and Robert Webb and put it on Channel 4 and growing a monster, which will kill everyone.
I must admit, I was quite excited by the announcement because I think my most influential comedy show was The Fast Show. And in fact, last night I was still saying cheesy peas to someone. But I'm really, if we can get a couple of good sketch shows going again, that'd be fantastic. I think it really would help the future of comedy. And that's me being quite serious there. But
no,
it's really good news. If that first one's shit, then they'll never make one again. There's a lot of pressure on this sketch show.
It's strange because sketches are being serious, really important. And this is why they've ended up on YouTube and TikTok and the like, because the format is so easy. Yeah. It's a great learning place. Well, you only have to be funny for 30 seconds, which is more than most people manage. And the sketch goes from format to format. After the apocalypse, people will be sat around bonfires doing cheesy peas sketches. It's the infinite part of comedy because it's easy to do and hard to do well. So, yeah, I do for once, I hate saying this, wish someone else well with their new comedy show.
Goodness me. Oh, right? God, is this a job application? Yeah. Oh, I too wish Mitchell and Webb, absolute comedy gods, really all the best with finding some perhaps more mature sketch writers.
I wish them well and hope it means they don't carry on writing loads of kids' books because I think everybody's bored of that now. So
people have got to stop writing kids' books. Well, should we just stop there? Stop talking.
That sounds great, actually. You've been listening to the old fools flailing around and just stopping at a random point in time. And we'll see. Giddy, go.